How you doing? Oh boy. Hey Bruce, how are you? Watch Habit and Donald, Javier, Joseph, Rick. Hi Rick. Um, see who else we got here. Quaz, is it Quasum? I hope that's right. I hope I said it right. Hi Eddie, how you doing? Anyway, what I thought we could talk about today. Um, oh, good. The sound is okay and everything's cool. Hi James and Mark. Ah, okay. I think sort of fall is beginning to come here, so we're all set. Couple things here. I tried some different colors, and as far as the dials concerned, I figured we could have any color we wanted. Hi, Javi. And but we did something else this morning that was sort of fun, I thought. Hugh came up with a name that was Montres du Temps Libre, which means the watches of free time. And I sort of thought, well, that's sort of a cool name too. You can see, so I tried it out, and I don't know, whatever you guys think of it. Hey, Mark from Washington, how you doing, man? Anywho, so these were a couple of the things that we've got. Now let me see if I can see it. There we are. Yeah, but you can get some idea what do we want to do. That I suppose the name and the colors and things like that aren't really that important. I mean, right now, especially. What I was thinking of was this: is that we're coming up sort of to a point where I believe we're going to have to do a couple things, and one of them is the amount of finishing that we want to have with this. And the oh wow, yeah, Mark. Ooh, these wildfires out there are really terrible. I hope you're okay. Same with you, Mark and Mark, both the Marks. Anyway, what I was looking at was the enlarge on the site, which is the same as beveling that they have. So, and I worked on it by hand, and it wasn't very good, to tell you the truth. My job wasn't, but I used a rough file, and if I take it down to a finer file and so forth, it'll look nicer. And but the rest of the finish on this is fine. I mean, it's nice and smooth and so forth. And so I was wondering, okay, would if we have a nice smooth finish, do we really need something like Geneva Waves or Perlage or whatever else might go in there? And I don't know. This was something that I was wondering about. And then I thought, well, one of the things we could do is we could talk about it in terms of, well, let's say we were entering this into a contest, into the Grand Prix. And if the watch that we're putting together and we put it into the petite aiguille, with the movement that if we're able to go with the Agonor movement and the other elements, the case and the dial and the straps and so forth, is that what would we do in terms of the sort of like, what would we do if we really, say, hey, we want to keep this thing into under a certain amount of money. In this case, the petite aiguille would be under 10,000, but I think we'd really want to, not just like 9,999 Swiss francs, but rather around 7, 8, right in there would be the hope. And I was thinking, well, what will we do? How much finishing would be necessary? And I think having the um, an exhibition in the back with an Agenhor movement would be very important. Just because it would be always cool. You turn your watch over and you see, you look at the back of it and you see this incredible movement in there. Look at this. There's movement I can't see very well, but that's the whole idea. So anyway, so what are you guys, any thoughts on that? First of all, let's just so we can talk. People always have opinions about this. What about that name? Do you like the Montres du Temps Libre, which means watches of free time, or the one that we had before, which is Premier Montre? We'll start with something that is either or kind of thing that is easier to think about. No? Anybody? I don't hear any. Here we go. It needs a goat. Of course it needs a goat. Is it a private project? Then a nice name. Which one, Quasm? I mean, this is a group project, so it's sort of like yeah. Okay. Mark, you like them both. Yeah, we could have one. We could, the thing of it is that people say, well, I like this name. So, okay, we'll put that on your dial. And someone said, well, I like this name. And we'll put that on your dial. And so I want a goat. Okay, we'll get a goat for you. Whatever you want. There's a, anyway, this was something that came up this morning. And I don't know why. Just the whole concept of watches of free time sounded sort of cool. So that was why I liked it. I like the other one too because it's nice and concise, which is nice. But this other one is sort of a what is the French word for the joy of life? Joie de vivre. This one seems to have a bit more joie de vivre to it. Okay. The variance in Dow printing would drive up the cost. Yeah, it would. You're right. You're right about that. But we'll see. That it's something that we don't want to do, obviously. So come up with. Oh, anyway, we can do that later. Now, what would be the kind of thing you're saying? All right. Well, I hope most of you have taken a look at the candidates for. In the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève to get some kind of idea of what is somebody figure. Well, here's a watch that's under $10,000, between 4 and 10, which is where ours will be, and what would be a unique feature. Now, a unique feature in this case, we've got two, I suppose. Well, three really. One is the jumping hours, the other is the retrograde minutes. But the biggest one would be having a movement that is totally unique and original. I think that would be huge. So, what do you guys think? What I think judges are looking for, Joseph. Original, innovative, cohesive, and aesthetically pleasing dial, in-house movement, preferably well finished, and technologically innovative, potential influence. Yeah, those, Joseph, those are it in a nutshell. It's funny though. 2016 maybe. I think it was 2016. Maybe it was 2017. One of those years. There was a watch that won. Okay. I think I've got a couple of those already, Donald. Um, so I'll dig them up and print them out, and so we can look at them. Oh, by the way, too, I can one place I could put them would be on the on our what's it called, the jumping retrograde, or yeah, the jumping retrograde project. Put it on that website on the Facebook page, and we could take a look at it there. Okay. What are some other things that might make it? Oh, yeah. By the way, I was going to tell you about Eberhard. A few years ago, Eberhard won the sports prize. Now, Eberhard at the time, their watch was like 2,500 Swiss franc, something like that. And I remember there was a Ulysse Nardine in there. There was like 150,000 Swiss francs. Whoa, that the Eberhard, what was it called? Saphograph, I think it was Saphograph 300, something like that. Anyway, but that was 101. And I happen to know the judge, or one of the judges, and I think he was sort of the lead judge, because he was the one that announced the award. And I asked him, I said, why in the world? How did Eberhard win, given all of this other stuff? Now, it was a nice, he said, well, we looked at that, and here were these watches that were almost 10 times more, and in one case close to 50 times more expensive. And so why, how was it this sort of this ETA run watch that was the base of it? Said, well, he said, yeah, it did have an ETA base, but what they put on top of that was very impressive, and the way they did it, and so forth, for creating a sports watch, was really something. And he said he couldn't understand, the judges couldn't understand why these other ones that had the complications they had were so much more expensive, even though the Eberhard did the same thing. So there are a lot of things that go into it. And to me, that was like, wow, that's sort of a nice thing especially for the people with a smaller budget. So anyway, but that was in the sports category, and the sports category went, like I said, from the Eberhard price-wise at the bottom, from around 2,500 all the way up to this Ulysse Nardine that was 150,000, something crazy like that. But anyway, so okay, how would the movement be regulated? I don't know. It's a good question, Donald. I would imagine that, oh boy, if it had a regulator, if it was done with the weights around the balance, adjusting those in and out all around, that would be something you'd probably have to take it to a watchmaker for. On the other hand, if it had like a balance pointer to it, and you could go in there with a toothpick and move it to the left or right. I don't know, but that's Donald. I don't know. This is something that would be a good question to talk to the guys at Agenhor about. The competition that year was thin. This year, the competition is very strong across all categories. I don't know if I'd agree with you, Joseph, on that. At least because in the sports group, there was some serious competition. They don't have the sports group anymore, but I do agree with one thing. Boy, this year the competition is really heavy. So it's not just about the movement value. Part of it is about it, yeah, part of it. But this is why I'm very interested to see how Ophium does. Now, Ophium is in the challenge category. And what they've done is in a way, what we're doing is that they got in fact, this is the case that they used, and these are the straps they had. But and then they got this. They were working with Festina. Opium, I think, it's in Barcelona, and what they did was that they were like totally open about it. And if you want to know what's in an opium, just look at their ad. And not only do they tell you what it is, they tell you in some detail. They even had one of those open up things so you could see everything. And what they had something with Festina, and I'm not sure exactly how that worked. Festina owns Soprod, and they have this company called M something or other. I always forget it's the initials for the company that's owned by Festina and works with Soprod in making their movements. And what they did was that Technotime went out of business, but there was a movement that they liked, and they put together with this kind of finishing on the plates for the movement. It was sort of like almost medieval in the way, and sort of a real, like it was meteor, like a side of a meteorite or something. And so they put that together, and that's their movement for it. But they sort of like, it was sort of like a managed project. They did their own dial. Well, they had the dial done, actually. They did their own hand, and they invented one that they thought was important. So that's why I say it's going to be interesting to see how they do this year. If they look at that and say, all they did was cobble stuff together of somebody else's stuff, and then they look at Tudor and say, well, Tudor has their own manufacturing. I don't know. That's a tough one. Let's see. Hey, Truth Fears, how you doing? Raj, what's up? The Swiss Horology Awards would be more significant if all the entries do not have the maker's name on the watch. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. In other words, if this was sort of like a blind test, and they went and they looked at it, and they didn't say, oh, that's something by Kerry Wooten Lana, so it must be excellent. He won 2 awards last year. Qasim, let's see. Do you mean Soprod? Do I mean Soprod about what? Qasim. So Festina owns Soprod, but there's another company in there that's owned by Festina that makes the movements, and they somehow got a hold of. I think Festina bought what was left of Technotime when Technotime, I think, went out of business, something like that. Festina, yeah. Festina's sort of like Richemont, except it's sort of a little Richemont. It owns a number of watch companies like El Leroy and who else do they own? Well, they own Soprod, which is a movement maker, but they own this other one, and it's M something or other for manufacture, yada yada yada, and they use a lot of high tech production, and so that's an interesting part. They're using a lot of robotics in that, so you have that's another sort of angle on there. Instead of using some of the older techniques from the 19th century, they're using really leading edge 21st century production robots. And so the old robots are in there making all of the parts for it. And so anyway, now what I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I think what happened was that when Technotime went under and Festina bought them, that they then took the Technotime 77 something or other movement, and they either reproduce the whole thing or they reproduce certain parts that they needed, and then they put a movement together that Opium bought. That's what I think was going on. So that's why I think it's sort of like to what extent, on the one hand, if opium said, look, this is what we want done and this is what we want it to like, they're sort of cooperating and sort of in a cooperative kind of thing of making a movement. And that's what we're sort of doing, I guess, even though none of us know anything about anything really about watchmaking. What we are involved in, this is the way I like to think about it. There's something called établissage, and établissage is where you have all of your watchmakers. This was from back in the old days in Switzerland, that Hansel and Gretel would put it all together, and Heidi would do the old lodge for them, and so they'd do one part, and somebody else would do another part. Now, the reason I mention that is that Daniel Roth really likes doing that things, and he's got this big box, jewelry box, and he picks all these different parts out. And so I'm thinking, well, maybe that's one way to look at opium is établissage, is that they have, but they're using bigger parts rather than, buying a gear here and buying some other part at different places. Okay. All right. So what else do you think we ought to ask about or ask for or pay attention to anyway? Hey, Junior, how you doing, man? Hello? Okay. The dial is key. Yeah, you got a point there. I think the movement is more key, because remember, you're going to have expert judges looking at this. This isn't, some guy going down to the mall and buying a first watch that's the prettiest one that he sees. But I think it is important to have a good looking dial. But I don't think that would trump having, especially if the movement was sort of manufactured by request. The Isle of Dial. Innovative dial. Yeah, I think that's important. I don't know, I haven't seen anyone like this. Have you guys? I've seen them that they have it, either they have it either from like 9 to 3 or 3 to 9, but I haven't seen one over to the side like this, other than the Van Cleef and Arpels, which was on the other side and upside down. Okay, so what are you guys thinking? So let's hear some more ideas. I can't hear you. Let's see. What ideas are you looking for? Oh, Mark, these are sort of like, finishing ideas. To what extent or some kind of detail? For example, let's talk about the crown. What kind of crown do you like? You can have sort of like a crowny looking crown, or you can have an onion crown. The glass with the case is very important. Yeah. The glass with the case would be sapphire. Hi, Tim. Onion. Yeah. Mark, I think you're right. I think there's something about that I like too. It gives it a classy but little exotic look to it. This is, yeah, I've got sort of this one is sort of a, I don't know, typical FP Jorn crown. They're all the same. This one, I think, represents sort of standard chronograph kind of wind-up dial. So does this one. And let me see. Yeah, no, this is sort of a crown-shaped crown. Uh, no, yeah, I think the onion dial is a good idea, Mark. We'll make it look old-fashioned. So what? Onion crown, some gold etching on the movement, nice blue screws. Okay. No gold. Okay, no gold. Gold is for girls. I like gold. Wait a minute. Don't give me that. I got a lot of gold watches. Yeah, we got to be, you know what I think we don't want it to make it look tacky. And without mentioning any names, right, or any brand names, I really don't like the ones that are sort of mixed gold with steel or something like that. Some of them look really good. I mean, if it's done well, but I think we better forget the gold for two reasons. One, it's hard to get it to look the way we want to. And second of all, it adds a lot to the cost, especially now. Gold has been hitting $2,000 an ounce, for crying out loud. $2,000 an ounce. Back right before they made it legal in the US to buy gold, and this was back in the 70s, I think, gold was $30 an ounce, and now it's just gone nuts. Yeah, I think we all like gold. I like platinum too, but this is platinum, and I can't tell the difference between platinum and stainless steel. Well, okay, Donald, here's the thing about that. Maybe we can do that. I think what we've got to do on the finishing is to ask them, because I think before you totally finish everything, see all of these plates here and here and here, and there's some other ones like finger bridges and things like that. I think it's a lot easier to do if, and they take them and they put them, it looks like a block or something with putty, and then they do it in, and so they're sort of in putty. Now you can't put the whole movement in there, and so you have to do it, put it in piece by piece. And so that would be, I think, what we would have to do, because I had talked to him a little about the finishing, and I told him, look, we're trying to keep the price down. So okay, so that was something though. But Donald, I see your point. What we could simply do is just ask them, saying, rather than ask them about the company they use, just ask them, how much X, Y, and Z would add. I don't, something like perlage, that doesn't do much for me. But a good, like this one, this has got a nice smooth finish on it. But what really makes a difference is the anglaise. And so if you have some, a nice anglaise, I don't think you need either the Geneva waves or some of the other stuff. And then you have this really good looking movement. Yeah, Quasum, that's right. It's done, the different parts of the bridges and so forth are done. Oh yeah, black PVD. Yeah, you can do that too. We're gonna try. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I have one here. I think I might. Let me just take a look real quick and see if I have a. Yeah. Okay, here is this is the front side of the Van Cleef and Arpels movement, and this entire movement was made by Agenor, and they put their logo on it, not Agenor, but the other one. That's another thing too. is that I'd be more than happy to invite Aganor to put their logo right here, rather than anything from us, because I mean, they're like super famous, and other than Quasum, the rest of us aren't super famous. So that's where we are on that. Hello, RFA. How are you? EPFRA, something like that. Okay. Handmade, high polished beveled edges will drive the cost through the roof. Well, Joseph, we got to find out what it would cost. All right. Eddie, I don't know if Eddie's still here, but Eddie had done some of his own hand beveling and some finishing on his own. It really turned out well. I mean, it looks great. But I agree with you that if we, that's why we want to find out how much, simply ask them about, how much the whole thing would cost to do X, Y, and Z. If I would imagine something like per lodge shouldn't cost very much. How much on lodge would cost, I don't know. We just don't know. So anyway, well, look, guys, we're out of time, but I just wanted to sort of, oh, by the way, too, please, if you're really interested in this and going on with it, oh, hi, Geezer. I don't think I said hi to you. Do go and join, if you're on Facebook, join the Jumping Retrograde Project page. And this, this is what it looks like. This got all banged up. But it's a Jumping Retrograde Project. And here, what we can do is get some more ideas and talk more about it. So, hasta la vista, guys. And thank you all for coming. And, oh, hey, I got a review tomorrow. There'll be another collection review. So I think it's something it's highly, highly affordable. Take care.